Sound of school bell ringing, footsteps of children, birds chirping in the background. In the heart of a small Nigerian town stood Unity Secondary School. Its walls were painted in faded cream. The iron gate creaked every morning, and the playground was covered in red dust from the earth. Yet, for the students, this school was more than just a collection of buildings. It was a place of dreams, laughter, punishment, and hope. On any given day, the classrooms were filled with chatter, the sound of chalk against blackboards, and the stern voices of teachers calling for silence. The staff room smelled of old books and hot tea, where teachers argued about politics and shared roasted groundnuts. Among the hundreds of students in this school was Adaeze, whom everyone called Ada. She was 16, bright-eyed, and full of questions about life. Her school uniform, a white blouse and green skirt, was always neatly ironed, and her notebooks filled with tiny, careful handwriting. Ada's dream stretched far beyond the zinc rooftop of her town. She wanted to be a lawyer, to defend the weak and speak where others were silenced. But little did Ada know her path was about to cross with a man who would change her life forever. One Monday morning, the entire school buzzed with whispers. A new teacher had arrived. His name was Mr. Carlo. He was young, perhaps in his early 30s, with neatly pressed shirts and shoes that always shone as if polished by magic. His glasses gave him an air of intelligence, and when he smiled, his teeth flashed white against his dark skin. The female students giggled whenever he passed, their laughter echoing down the halls. Even the boys respected him, for he carried himself with confidence, unlike the older, tired teachers. In his first class, Mr. Carlo introduced himself with a voice that was calm, deep, and reassuring. He told stories that made even the dullest topics interesting. He quoted poems, cracked jokes, and somehow remembered every student's name by the end of the week. To Ada, he seemed almost perfect. She watched him closely, her eyes following every moment as he explained mathematics on the board. When he glanced at her and asked, "Adaeze, do you understand this?" her heart skipped a beat. From that day, she carried a secret admiration in her chest, an admiration that would slowly grow into something dangerous. At first, it was innocent. Ada would write little notes in her exercise book, doodling hearts and scribbling, "Ada, Mr. Kola." She never showed anyone except her best friend Chioma. Chioma laughed and teased her, saying, "So you want to marry your teacher, eh? You and romance novels are the same thing." Ada blushed and slapped her arm playfully, but deep down, she meant every word of those scribbles. At home, however, things were different. Ada's parents noticed she was distracted. She would sit at the dinner table, smiling to herself, lost in thought. Her mother, Mama Adaeze, frowned and asked, "Adaeze, who is putting this kind of light in your eyes?" Her father, stern and observant, added, "Be careful, Ada. Teachers are not your mates. Focus on your studies. Love can wait." But Ada only nodded, pretending to agree. In her heart, she thought, "They don't understand. He's not just a teacher. He's different." From there on, she found herself seeking Mr. Carlo's attention. She stayed behind after class to ask unnecessary questions. She volunteered for tasks so she could be near him, and sometimes his eyes lingered on her a little longer than they should. Life at Unity Secondary School carried on, but whispers began to circulate among the staff. Some teachers noticed strange things about Mr. Carlo. Why did he always stay late at school? Long after everyone else had gone home, why was he often seen carrying heavy bags into the nearby bush paths at night? In the staff room, one teacher leaned closer to another and whispered, "Have you noticed him? There is something not right about that man." But the other shook his head, sipping his tea. "Ah, leave it. Not every secret needs chasing. As he teaches well, let him be. Meanwhile, Chioma grew more suspicious. She told Ada, I don't trust him. He's too perfect, too smooth. Sometimes when he looks at us, his eyes are cold. But Ada only laughed. You are jealous, Chioma. Just admit it. You don't like that he favors me. Chioma shook her head. No, Ada. I'm telling you, there is danger in that man's mind. But Ada's heart had already chosen blindness. One evening, after classes had ended, Ada lingered around the old library near the edge of the school compound. The building was quiet, its windows dusty, its walls lined with fading posters of "Read to Success." She met Mr. Kalu. He greeted her with his usual smile and asked why she was in school so late. Ada blushed and mumbled something about waiting for Chioma, though both of them knew it was a lie. Mr. Kalu stepped closer, lowering his voice. You are very intelligent, Adaeze. You are not like the others. You have a bright future. Her cheeks warmed at his words, but as they spoke, she noticed the bag he carried by his side. It was large, wrapped tightly with rope, and it moved, as though something inside was struggling. Ada frowned. Sir, what is in the bag? For a moment, his eyes darkened. Then he chuckled, panting her checks gently. Just school flies, nothing for little girls to worry about. But when he walked away, his steps quickened. Ada stood frozen, her heart racing. Something about that bag, something about the way he looked at her when she asked, planted a seed of fear in her mind. Days turned into weeks, and unease settled over the community. People began to vanish. A young boy who sold groundnuts at the market disappeared one night. A seamstress never returned home after closing her shop. Even children were not spared. The villagers whispered in fear. Mothers wept. Fathers gathered with lanterns, searching the roads of night. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said it was ritualists. Others swore it was an evil spirit haunting the town. But among the whispers, one name surfaced again and again, Mr. Carlo. He had been seen walking the bush paths at night. He was always carrying heavy bags. He always had an excuse for where he had been. At home, Ada's parents warned her even more sternly, stay away from that man. Adaeze, her father growled, there is evil in him. But Ada's heart battled her mind. Could it be true? Could the man who made her heart flutter also be the same man the villagers feared? One afternoon, curiosity got the better of her. After classes, Ada sneaked into Mr. Carlos' office. The room smelled strange, like rust and damp clothes. On his table were neat piles of books, but in the corner stood an old wooden box. Her hands trembled as she lifted the lid. Inside, she found things that froze her blood. Torn bloody clothes, bones wrapped in black cloth, straight charms carved with symbols she didn't understand. Ada gasped, dropping the lid. The room spun around her. She tried to run, but before she reached the door, a deep voice spoke behind her. Looking for something, Adaeze? There was Mr. Carlo, standing in the door, his glasses glinting in the dim light. But his smile was gone. His eyes were hard, cold and merciless. In that moment, Ada understood. The teacher she loved was not a mentor. He was not a friend. He was a murderer. Before she could scream, he lurched forward and grabbed her arm. She struggled, tears streaming down her face. Shh, he whispered harshly. You are too curious, Adaeze. Curiosity is dangerous. He dragged her out of the office, towards the bush path behind the school. The sky had darkened, and the wind rustled through the trees. Ada screamed, kicking and fighting, but his grip was strong. Back in the village, her parents had grown worried. When Ada didn't return home, they searched the roads with lanterns, calling her names. Others joined them, for they too feared the dark figure who haunted their nights. Ada's screams pierced the night, and the villagers ran towards the sand. Torches lit the path as dozens of feet pounded the earth. When they reached the clearing, they saw him, Mr. Carlo, dragging Ada into the shadows. The villagers shouted their voices like thunder. Mr. Carlo froze, dropping Ada as the crowd surrounded him. For the first time, fear flickered in his eyes. He tried to flee, disappearing into the bush, but the villagers chased after him with fury. Ada collapsed into her mother's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Her father's face was hard, but his hands trembled as he held her close. That night, the truth of Mr. Kalu was revealed. The police came, and in his house they found evidence of horrors too dark to describe. Clothes of the missing, charms, blood-stained tools. The teacher who had walked into their school with charm and smiles was no teacher at all. He was a predator, a killer, a masked monster hiding in his plain sight. From that night onward, Unity Secondary School was never the same. The classroom still echoed with the sound of chalk. The staff room still smelled of hot tea, but there was a shadow over the school, a memory of the man who had worn a mask of kindness while hiding evil in his heart. As for Ada, her innocence was gone. She had learned a lesson no textbook could teach. Love, when blind, can lead to destruction, and sometimes the sweetest smile hides the deadliest mask.